Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Town. So in the previous episode we were sorting out all of the stations because the train lengths had changed and everything was just a little bit off, or in the case of the vertical stations, a fair bit off. But it's all sorted now and we've returned to Flaskmere to continue our work on the processing units so that we can get power suits being made. With the most recent 0.13 update giving us the flamethrower, we can now deal with the biters much more effectively, but in order to actually use the flamethrower we need to be protected enough to get near them, and for that we will need to get a power suit. And I'm going to try to go straight for the final tier, which, I don't think the suit itself does require processing units, and so do a lot of the higher technologies. I could have got a weaker one a long time ago, but I'd like to sort of leapfrog my way straight to the final stages if possible. So we're going to be going straight from the heavy armor, which is just made of steel and copper, to the Mark II power suit, with its something like 10 by 10 squares of module capacity, which should make dealing with biters much easier than it has been so far. We'll be saying goodbye to the tank and all the biters as well, which is the hope. Which is good because they have been advancing a fair bit with the new biter colonization AI. They are now a lot more aggressive in setting up new bases, and it has been causing us a little bit of trouble. So we're over in Flaskmere, which has plenty of science to do now, but once it has done that, this will become its main job, just making processing units, doing occasional bits of research that might come along in any new updates and things like that. And so to make the processing units we need stupid amounts of circuits, as well as advanced circuits and sulfuric acid. We've got the circuits being piped in. It's not a huge amount, but it should be enough to get us some production going. And then I start siphoning off some advanced circuits from a train that happens to come through here. It's the science train, which delivers advanced circuits to Newton, and it also comes through here to deliver the science packs from Newton. So we can just set up an inserter, and that should be fine. I only set up one because there's probably little point in doing more than that, considering we only have 2 inserters taking out the actual circuits, and you need 20 circuits and 5 advanced circuits to make a single processing unit. So you also need a certain amount of sulfuric acid. I always forget the amounts because I don't pay that much attention to them, but I imagine that our oil system can probably deal with it. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm concerned that it won't. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, have a look at Frackham and see how the oil levels are doing. But the thing is, we need water to make sulfuric acid, and it is miles away from Flaskmere. This is not a problem I usually have. Usually there's just water everywhere, but in this particular case, Flaskmere is directly between 2 bodies of water, and so it's quite a way to get the water to it. The slightly closer source is in the south, which is a little bit dangerous because there are a lot of biters around here. I'm quite close to a base just building this, so I'm a little bit careful about going too far towards that particular base. But we get it set up. I have a bit of a problem where I end up piping it through where we might have a rail in future, which is a little bit awkward. So I just shift it along a bit. It means I'll need a small amount more in the way of pipes, but it's not a huge problem. And we just send our car careening off to the junction. Possibly put a little bit too much power into it. It nearly got to the actual junction itself, where it could have caused quite a bit of trouble with any passing trains, but it came to a halt and saved us a bit of time messing about transporting it from one place to another. I probably should have just walked to the location, but I felt like I needed just a little extra bit of protection that the car can give you. So I'm starting to make it back, but I need to grab some more iron so I can continue making the pipes, and then I just start connecting it up from the other end. A little bit of manoeuvring around power poles and stuff, but it seemed like it would be a good idea to have the pipes running along the tracks, the same as the power and the lights, and so on and so forth. It makes sense to have sort of all the amenities that any town has running along the rails, and it makes them easy to protect if that ever needs to start happening. So far, I haven't needed to have any turrets or anything actually on the rails, but there have been cases of biters attacking rails. It happened in Rail World recently, though that was in a sort of alternate save while I was live streaming. They just ran in like after I'd been driving through and just tore up some of the tracks. So that's a little bit of a worry. They're definitely getting more aggressive. It might have been colonization, because when biters colonize, they usually just annihilate everything in the area. So there's no there's nothing in the way of their biter bases. But as you can see, once we get the water connected up, the sulfuric acid production gets going, and we start getting the processing units. So now we can work on getting those delivered over to West Point, made into the various different components that power suits require, as well as hoovering some up for ourselves, myself. It's always confusing talking about the first and multiple persons. I don't even know. Anyway, we grab basically like a stack, though it takes a minute for the last few to be made, and we start getting it belted over to the train. As it turns out, the entire, well, basically like half, if not all, of the outpost is powered via a single small power pole. I could really do with fixing that. Now that I have like half of this stuff was built before I even had substations, so it's all just tiny poles everywhere. We could really do with just upgrading it all, really, and getting things a little bit neater. For the moment, I'm just focusing on trying to get this belt in place so that we can get a train going. Though the thing is, where I want to build a track, there are a bunch of biter bases. I was hoping I could have a track going out from going out to the west of Flaskmere, so we can have a more direct route to West Point, but unfortunately there are biter bases there, and they're actually quite big, and I would rather leave it till I actually have the power suit before I start dealing with them. So for the moment, we'll see about having trains just go via Chipton, and that should be fine, and then later on, once we've actually got the technology, we can use it to clear the area and get a proper track in place. So on my way back to sort of everywhere else, I go via Southbridge, where there have been a couple of biter attacks recently. Behemoth biters have started spawning. I can't remember if there were any in the previous episode, but there are quite a lot of them now. Suddenly there's a whole lot attacking, and they're causing a fair bit of trouble for the defensive systems. They're basically taking down walls and turrets all the time, and as my defensive system currently stands, it sort of can't stop them. It's inevitable. If a behemoth spitter attacks, that they will manage to cause damage to a wall, which means that now every single defensive line where that happens is a sort of ticking time bomb for biters breaking through. I mean, they were breaking through before, so it's a fairly normal thing, but now it's sort of inevitable everywhere, which is quite worrying. We'll have to keep an eye on that and just sort of redouble our efforts of just trying to push it back. I mean, I'm working as fast as I can here to try and get things operational, while also keeping an eye on the defensive systems. We hop over to the west part of Chipton, where some of the turrets have been quite battered, and we just resupply all on ammo, using up quite a lot of our supply, so we will shortly hop over to Fortin to resupply an ammo there. And we also need to go back to the main area. I'm going to call it area. Area makes more sense. It's not a base, it's an area or something. The old production? Old production makes sense. I'm just going to stop calling it the main base. I don't like that term. It doesn't make sense based on how we're playing towns. But I'm going to hop back over there and grab some more iron, copper, gears and such. And we also grab some circuits from Chipton, though it turns out we're pretty much fine for circuits anyway. Though you may have noticed that the circuits were not at all backed up anymore. They were only getting to the loading, the first section of the train loading for circuits, and that is of course because of all the circuits being used up by processing unit production. Because of course 20 circuits per individual processing unit, it's quite heavily, it's insane how much circuitry is going to be going into that, and it's probably going to mean a whole lot more power usage, pollution, and just general materials usage there is in towns. That's something to keep an eye on. There's going to be more pollution, more biters, so on and so forth. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm starting to consider maybe just going for modules, because I didn't sign up for this. When I set the settings as I did, I didn't think it would be like this. I didn't think there would be quite as many biter bases attacking. And 0.13 has only made it worse. They're now much more aggressive in their colonization, and will happily just pick a spot in the middle of your factory and try and set up shop there if they can make it. So yeah, it's not so great. You can see they're advancing with some quite large bases in the west as well. In the east, they're right in the middle of stuff now. They're in between Chipton and Flaskmere, and getting in the way of me, like, travelling between the two places now, and stuff. I would have been attacking them a lot more, but I'm trying to get the power suit sorted so I can focus on that. But something I realised when I checked the crafting menu is that I'd forgotten something. I was thinking that we needed electric engines to make the power suits, and I was just going to like make a couple manually basically. I was going to set up a little assembler here and just make what I needed to like make the power suit. But I realised that actually the main power suit doesn't need the electric engines. It's only the exoskeleton legs that need it, and we can leave those for the moment. They're mainly just to make things more convenient for me. They help a little bit in running away from biters, but it's not a huge problem, so I can just leave those and focus on that in future. Maybe when we've got like liquid wagons that we can actually transport the necessary lubricant to like anywhere that can make it. I mean, we could just set it up in Frackum. It makes a fair bit of sense. It's an oil-based bit of production. I don't know, but I forgot that what you actually needed is level 3 modules, and I can't believe I forgot that because it's quite an important thing. You need 5 level 3 speed modules and 5 level 3 efficiency modules, so we're going to have to make those, and they're quite difficult to just make on the spot. I think they might be manually craftable, but you need huge amounts of materials for it because you need 5 level 2 modules, and each of those needs 5 level 1 modules, and I feel like it would be a little bit cheaty and also a little bit tedious to craft those manually. And also with me starting to consider modules for the rest of the factory, maybe getting efficiency going and helping stop the biters attack everything constantly, as well as the need for speed modules to make a bunch of random little bits of technology. It's probably about time we got a module town built, and I've already picked a location for it. There's quite a big open area in the desert over here, but it's not too close to the biters, so I'm not too unhappy about building a town. Also, it can act as a bit of protection for Colbury. I don't like the fact that Colbury is under direct attack from biters a lot of the time. So if I could set up a town like between the biters and Colbury, then it would probably be a good idea. Even though it would generate a bit of pollution, it would protect Colbury a lot better, because Colbury is sort of the most important town. If it dies, so do all the others, because they all run off its power. At some point, maybe we'll have a secondary power town to sort of prevent any sort of problems that might happen from biters blowing it up. Because it's possible they might sweep through and like take out Fortin, and then I'd have no ammo, and then they'd battle with the defences in Colbury until they manage to overwhelm it, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to set a town up in the desert to the west of it. I started setting up the rails, but I decided to go and deal with some biters. I was thinking that they were going to be in the way, but I decided to have it a little bit further to the east than actually by the lake, partially because of the pollution issue, and partially because it lined up with the rails better. Because the thing about module production is it needs quite a lot of the various different kinds of circuits, so I wanted to have fairly easy access to the different circuit towns. And with me thinking about how to set this up, I started thinking about having proper names for the different lines in towns, like having the circuit line and the science line, because that makes a fair bit of sense. The science line is the one that runs along the east and then the south. Basically, I'd say going from Frackum to Flaskmere, I'd say all of that is the science line. And the circuit line would be going from Redport via this new module town through Chipton and onto Flaskmere as well, just to encapsulate all the different bits of circuit technology, as well as the circuit-based module technologies. I think it'll be quite nice, and there's a couple of other ones I could do as well. Though they're sort of the two biggest ones. I'll probably have like an ore line one day over in the east once we get a bunch of mining towns operational and stuff like that. As well as the smelting towns, actually. We need a bit of that as well. But yes, anyway, we've dealt with the other biter base over here, and you may have spotted that I've started to mine a bunch of random rocks around the place, because with the arrival of 0.13, you can now mine all the rocks for stone, which is fantastic news for us. We've been having a stone shortage, and also rocks are generally annoying. You end up crashing into them all the time, and the only way previously to clear them away was to shoot them. Now you can deconstruct them or mine them, and you get the resources from them, which is fantastic. Even better, the biters actually mine them for you, because when they set up a base where there are rocks, they will deconstruct the rocks and leave the stone lying on the ground, so you can just run over, and they automatically get hoovered up as well, the same way as alien artifacts do, because I guess they sort of fall under the same category of items that have been mined despite... It's sort of hard to say, like, mined in the same way as alien artifacts are mined. You didn't actually mine it to yourself, so it just got dumped on the ground by being destroyed in a sense. That doesn't... No, that's wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. It basically, it has a sort of weird property to it that means that it's very similar to the alien artifacts. Anyway, we went over to Fortune for a second just to drop off the tank and grab some ammo. And you can see there that we got the achievement for making 500 processing units per hour. And the good side about that is that we haven't been making them for an hour so far, so we're probably making something more like 1,000, though I don't know if we'll be able to keep that up with how many circuits are required to make each one. But it's nice to get that, and we can sort of try and go further with that. The achievements go well beyond sort of anything I've really achieved before, like making 2 million circuits. I've never made 2 million circuits, even in Railworld, where I had to make a dedicated circuit outpost because the main base just couldn't deal with the necessary throughput anymore. So yeah, they're definitely some good challenges to have. They go well beyond finishing the game. There are multiple ones based on finishing the game as well, including based on time and stuff like that. Various ones about making certain amounts of things per hour. And I don't think I've ever achieved any of those like achievements. The gold achievements for iron per hour. Well, not circuits per hour. Circuits is just total made. But advanced circuits per hour, processing units per hour. I've not ever done those, I'm pretty sure. And I did the calculations to work out how many assemblers and stuff you need, and it's a lot. You basically need to devote all your time to setting up stupid amounts of miners and things like that to get those working. But anyway, we have extended the rails along a little bit more. We finished dealing with those bases and clearing away a bunch of rocks to get a load of stone so we could actually make some more rails to continue work on this town. And this is where we're going to set it up. We're going to have it vertical because the orientation no longer matters, and this lines up quite well with Redport and Chipton and things like that. And so with us constructing this, we will probably get it mostly finished. Next episode, we'll start setting up the actual module production. And so I would like you to come up with suggestions. It's been a while since we did this, but for those who are new, I take subscribers, commenters' suggestions for the names of the towns. I just copy them all down and decide on which one based on what sounds nice. So please come up with your suggestions. It's going to be some sort of high-tech based thing, similar to what we did with Flaskmere. Well, actually not really, because that was science-based. This one isn't. It's sort of just about circuitry and things like that. So Silicon Valley, or puns based on that name, and stuff like that. And I will decide which one to use. But anyway, I'm setting up these signals here, and I realised an interesting little bug where it doesn't show you that you can build a signal unless you actually break part of the rails, and then build it and then put the rails back. And then the signal does operate, so it's not like I'm building it there but then it's no longer able to work. And I know that you can build circuits in those bits of the structure, because I've built this particular arrangement of rails many times, though I realise here that I've actually built it the wrong length. I forgot to take into account the extra 3 bits of rail you need to sort of so that the train can park in and then exit via either direction. So you'll be able to see it again in a second. It's the bit on the right, the area that, the part of the rail that the train exits by. It just doesn't show it, and I have to take away a bit of the rail, and then it does show it, and then I can build it, put the rail back, and then it works normally. So I will report that to the bug reporting forum on the Factorio website, and I imagine it will be fixed in short order. It's interesting though that it was it was something to do with the actual rail building, potentially, rather than the rail. The rail placement indicators, because, the signal placement indicators, because I couldn't actually build the signal at all. It wasn't just that it didn't say that I could, but I could, it was that I actually couldn't. So something has gone a little bit weird there. But anyway, we've gone over to Colbury. I've started smelting some stone into stone bricks. We can make the defensive walls for the town, and I check up on the situation with coal, and it's not looking too good. The coal line keeps emptying out, and it seems to be that there is not enough unloading capacity for the coal train to keep the coal supply going for the entire time that the train is gone. So it doesn't seem to be a problem with the rate at which it's put onto the belt or the speed of the belt, because the belt is being emptying out and then staying empty for quite a while. So I just swap out the filter inserters for stack filter inserters, which greatly improves the unloading rate and gets the train completely unloaded before it can leave again, which is not good because it then goes on to Frackham and has to unload coal there, so that's a problem. But we've run out of time for today, so I shall say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time. And don't forget those name suggestions.